Hello, it's Bishop Mark. Today is Luke chapter 21, verses 5 and 6. Just two verses today, but they're about the temple, and we should speak about the importance of the temple. Jesus predicts in these two verses that it will be destroyed. So let's read the two verses, and we'll talk all about the temple today. Some people were speaking about how the temple was adorned with costly stones and votive offerings. He said, "All that you see here, the days will come when there will not be left a stone upon another stone that will not be thrown down." So the people are looking at the temple, at the all the votive offerings. A votive offering is a gift from someone who's made a vow, and they give a gift to the temple. We'll talk about that. And Jesus says this temple will be destroyed. Now, first, let's remember what the temple is. When the Jews, long time before Jesus, were in the desert, Moses led them out of the desert. I think you've heard of Moses. And God did many miracles in the desert to protect his people. Now, some of those miracles gave them things from God. One thing was the 10 Commandments. They were written on stones. Moses went up the mountain and he came back with the stones with the 10 Commandments. Another thing was Aaron, who was with Moses. He was his spokesperson. He had a rod, a staff, and that staff could do miraculous things. At one point, it turned into snakes. So that's a holy thing from God. Another thing is that God fed them with manna in the desert. Stuff that would come in the night and people would pick it up and be able to eat and survive. So they built a box with these holy things called the Ark of the Covenant. So it had the 10 Commandments, the rod of Aaron, manna, a few other things. And they carried that box with the things of God, and that box became very powerful. If they brought that box, the Ark of the Covenant, into battle, they would win the battle. It was the place of God. God was with them in the Ark of the Covenant because the holy things of God were there. Okay, the Jews come out of the desert, and the place of the Ark of the Covenant changes over time. King David danced before the Ark of the Covenant, and it was it was the important thing for the Jews. After King David, King Solomon built a temple. He built the temple on Mount Zion, already a holy mountain because of things of Abraham's time. And he built it there, this temple, to hold the Ark of the Covenant. And so it became the place of God. Mount Zion, Jerusalem, is the place of God. Where is God? He's on the temple. So that is the location, the holiest place in the world for the Jewish people. And long time before Jesus, but long after Moses, the Babylonians came and they conquered the temple. And they took, we think, the Ark of the Covenant out of the temple. It's never been seen again. So it was very tragic, and the temple was destroyed. But the temple was built back more than once without the ark, but still on this holy mountain. So God was still in the temple, still the place of God, the temple. And the temple was fully built back during the time right before Jesus. Herod wanted to impress the Jews, and he allowed this temple to be built. He contributed to the temple. And this huge, massive temple was built on Mount Zion. That is the temple that Jesus visited as a child, right? We first see the temple in Luke's gospel, and Zechariah meets the angel in the temple. Jesus is presented in the temple. Mary and Joseph and Jesus took a pilgrimage. They went to the temple once a year to Mount Zion. He was lost in the temple when he was 12. And the temple is an extremely important place in the life of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And here, these past few videos, we've seen that Jesus is in the temple teaching and preaching and how important everyone is there. And so it's a huge, huge place. Now, what's it look like? When I say huge, it's hard to describe how big the stones are that it was built on, one upon the other. These massive stones, there's still some to this day, so you can see how big those stones were. And it was built way up high, and the outside was white, probably covered with marble, I would guess, and then the front of it was gold. How do we know those things? We don't know them from the Bible. We know them because there was a historian, not a Christian, not a Jew, a man named Josephus, who was covering the wars and things, covering the Romans, and he described the temple in his writings, such that the white on the side of the temple, when you see it from afar on the Mount Zion, you think there's snow on the mountain. And then if you look directly at the front of it with all the gold, shining gold during the sunlight, you'd have to avert your eyes. You have to look away because the gold is so glowing and big and mammoth. Okay, that's what Jesus is doing in the temple. He's looking around. And the votive offerings, as I mentioned, are these large gifts that people gave as a sign of a vow to God or a promise given to God. There's one famous one of a large golden vine that Josephus describes. But there's also these gifts that are hanging on the temple from the people to make it a place of God, and it's an impressive place. Now the Jews of that day have their temple, and they want it fully restored. They want the Messiah to come into the temple and remain there and then kick the Romans out. Remember, we've talked about that. But Jesus is the Messiah, and he's not the army leader. And so he looks around the temple in this reading, and he says to them, as they're admiring it, the temple is going to be destroyed. Now he said this, about the year 33, right? Because he was 33 when he died. So, and the years start when he was born. So about the year 33, he said this. And the temple was actually destroyed. It was destroyed in a horrific way by the Romans in the year 70. So after Jesus died, the temple was destroyed. Jesus predicted that in this passage. Now remember, Luke is writing in about the year 85. The people he's writing this to knew about the destruction of the temple. In fact, were horrified by the destruction of the temple. And so Luke is saying to them, Jesus predicted this. Now, Jesus was the Messiah in a different way. By his death and his resurrection, he destroyed death. And then through the Holy Spirit, through Pentecost, the Holy Spirit came. So what a Jew would say, where's God? Well, he's in the temple. A Christian says, where's God? Here among us through the Holy Spirit. And in the Holy Communion, Jesus changed that. So yes, it's a horrible thing that Jesus is predicting, but it doesn't touch God. Imagine the Jewish people that Luke is speaking to, and the Greeks. They might think, well, your God was destroyed. No, God was not destroyed. God is in the Holy Spirit. So that's what Jesus is doing in this gospel. He's looking around with the people at all the things, the votive offerings hanging from the place, and this huge stone upon stone. But it's being read in a time where the hundreds of thousands of people were killed in the destruction of Jerusalem. Every stone was taken down and flattened, and the place was burned out. It was completely destroyed. That doesn't destroy God. God is not a building. God is with us always. Okay, there's your talk about the temple. Peace to you all. Bye now.